Retiring in the San Miguels, Episode 14, Problems with Flying to the Azores from the U.S. The only choice to fly to the Azores from the U.S. directly is through SATA, S-A-T-A, or the international group of the Azore Airlines. So the first time that I flew to Azores was a pretty good experience, except for the timing. So it was an afternoon flight that gets into Azore Island right before midnight. And then on the return flight back to Boston, the flight is so late that you can't take another flight out until the next day, which means you have to stay in Boston, and all the hotels are super expensive. And I booked the flight separate as two different legs because it's over $250 cheaper than booking the entire trip through SATA. The second time I flew out of JFK, but as a separate flight again. But that day there was a huge snowstorm in the whole northeast coast, which delayed my flight by 5 hours, so I missed the flight from JFK to Punta Delgada. And because they were booked as separate flights, they canceled my return flight, and I ended up having to purchase both the flight there and back over again, so it cost me double. So I thought the next time I'm gonna book it all through SATA, even though it may be more expensive, so that if it's delayed, I won't be caught in this issue of missed flights. So the third time, I did book it through SATA with a connecting flight, but they booked me a 24-hour layover at JFK. So I arrived there at 8:55, and my next flight was 8:55 the next day. And when I got to JFK, they told me that it was connected, it was booked as two separate flights, and that I now had all my luggage that I had to carry around with me for 24 hours and bring it back to the airport. It was good that my son lives in JFK, but I thought that booking it direct, I would be able to avoid that hassle, but that was not the case. So the next segment is a video I took at my son's studio in New York City during that 24-hour layover, which will show what I brought and how I got the most out of my luggage allowance. Hey, it's Tiger Lee, and people have asked me, hey, what am I bringing on my trip to Azores? Well, here I happen to be flying from Tampa into New York, and they messed me up, and I have a full day in New York, so I'm spending it at my son, his studio, and so we're here to show you what I'm bringing. So the requirement is when you fly, you have to pay for extra baggage. So I'm going through SATA, and they have the 50-pound limit on the check-in, and you're only allowed 2 check-ins, and they cost $120 for each of those 50-pound bags. And then you're allowed 1 carry-on of 17 pounds. And somehow I got 130 pounds here that I'm traveling with. So here, I've been using these nice plastic containers for 20 years, and I filled all my pants here and then some supplies and umbrellas and books and things. But mostly because I'm renovating the space, I'm bringing my DeWalt power tool set, and that's taking like half the weight. So on the second container here, I have all my shirts, I have my drone, I have another toolkit, a jacket, and then so this right here is 50 pounds each. And then here is my carry-on, which is only allowed to be 17 pounds, which is this section here. What I need to wear on the day of, portfolios, some underwear, and then some batteries that I have to carry that I can remove. And within that, I have this removable laptop bag, which I can carry on separately because this here is 11 or 12 pounds to carry. And so this set is 19 pounds, so I'm gonna end up putting some of these batteries in my pocket jacket to reduce the weight when we weigh in, and then later on I will load it back into the bag. And that's how I'm getting this amount of stuff in their limited requirements. So I'm still here at my son's studio, and we have a scale, which I just finished repacking all that stuff into these two containers and balancing so they're both 49 pounds each, you know, so that I got a 1 pound gap, right? But I'm still weighing this, and it's still almost 30 pounds. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 2 batteries out and my jacket, put my jacket on, put my batteries in my jacket, and then pull out my lap case holder, which I'm allowed to have in addition to a carry-on. And now this weighs only 16.5 pounds. So I'm good to go without extra fees on top of the fees I already paid. Now I think that I'm gonna be back to booking separate flights, but allow enough leeway for some delay, but close enough where they'll accept my baggage from one to another. Even though I may not have to worry about that because most of my trips won't, maybe not require me to bring the max amount of luggage as I brought most of it with me this time. It is suggested that you bring as much luggage on the airplane as opposed to shipping it as cargo, because you don't have to deal with customs or tons of paperwork. It's not exactly true. It's like 98% of the people that go through customs at the airport just walk through. But at 2% they check. So when I arrived, I was near the beginning of the people that were leaving, and I had these 2 big cases that don't look like luggage, so they flagged me. They made me take everything out, and then they found my 3-month-old DeWalt tool set, and you know, they asked for receipts. So I took out my Amazon receipt for $5.99 and gave it to them, and I guess they thought for a moment and let me go. I guess that maybe it wasn't enough of a price to go through the hassle for them to pay to fill out the paperwork, or maybe they just decided to be nice. So be prepared to have customs look at your stuff when you come over. I did find out that United Airlines flies from New York, New Jersey in their busy season around June to September. So if you're going during that time in the summer, I'd suggest you take them. They have much better airplanes and luggage policies. SATA is up for sale of 51 to 85% of their shares in this government-owned airline, which is losing money. So hopefully some bigger, better run airline will buy them and improve their service and pricing in the future.